Let's talk about that next in terms of the kinds of things that people should be looking for if they want to be future proofing for the next 5 years. What are the things? What are the kinds of parameters? Let's go over an 8x8 matrix
Yeah,
in an
no, thank
audio
you.
only podcast. But, just kind of generally, let's talk about the kinds of things that people should be looking for in hardware that they're buying today. And I guess, as you said, this is specifically about what you described as client devices. And so I'm assuming that isn't a term that I use in my kind of day-to-day language, but it seems to me like that's distinguishing against like servers. It's like laptops, desktops, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
most normal people aren't running around saying client devices. That is a very Dell
Yes.
kind of term. When you think about what to buy right now, like if I were, if I were starting college or if I were doing something, wow, God, that was a while back. If I was starting college today, thinking about what kind of thing do I need, right? And there are different brands and different price points and different pursuits that you would have with this device. What's it going to be used for? Yeah, like I think an NPU makes a lot of sense for a lot of knowledge work type work, right? And if for no other reason than to get the most out of your operating system. We know from our friends in Redmond that Windows is going to start baking AI features into itself that it intends to run on the device, right? This stuff is expensive to ship to the cloud and back every single time. So some of the stuff like background blur on a Microsoft Teams call, speech to text, all of this stuff is going to look for a home somewhere on your device. And guess what? CPUs, the workload hasn't gone anywhere. That CPU is still going to have to do all of it's the workhorse. It's still going to have to do all the things it's always done. And now, if you don't have an NPU or a GPU, it's also going to have to support this new kind of workload. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Where if you decide no NPU, no GPU, well, gosh, your CPU better have some slack in it. It better have some bandwidth. GPUs, I like to talk about the birth of a new persona. And persona, again, being a word that people in our world think a lot about, right? The data scientist persona is something that like an IT decision maker is constantly thinking about. Like, what does that persona need? And you really have the birth of a new persona with all this AI stuff because you have people like myself who are not formally trained in that way as engineers, but who know enough to be dangerous. And now, with the right kind of device, I get supercharged. And with the wrong kind of device, I get throttled. So, this is very much a productivity gains question. And that is sometimes really hard to quantify. So, knowledge workers, NPU makes a lot of sense. Knowledge worker plus, maybe like these new persona at the edge of a dev and a kind of regular knowledge worker. That's me. And I would ask for something like a discrete GPU because I know that's going to last me. And also, if you want a device that you can use to train AI workloads during the day and give to your kid to play Fortnite later, like GPU is probably the way to go. So there's a dual use argument to be made there.
Yeah. And just to add to what Ish is saying, I would classify them today. And again, you have to keep in mind this is rapidly evolving. But today I could classify devices into three categories, right? You have the essential AI PCs, which have what I, for lack of another moniker, call them entry level NPUs, right? Think 10 to 15 tops or trillions of operations per second. And those are great for basic workloads coming from, as I alluded to earlier, your background blur, your voice correction, and other optimizations, offloading that from the CPU so you have a much better experience. And they can accommodate smaller models like up to maybe 1 to 3 billion parameters. But once you get there, now you're bringing workloads back to the CPU if you go beyond it, right? So that's probably the limit there. Then in the second category is maybe slightly more advanced AI PCs with more performant NPUs or state-of-the-art NPUs. Today, that's about 40 to 50 tops. And that really brings on-device AI into focus. Right now, you can actually bring custom workloads, perhaps run up to 9 to 10 billion parameter models for custom in workflow embedded use cases across a variety of verticals. In addition to the Copilot Plus features, which run locally on your PC that Ish talked about, right? So this is again a very nuanced, difference here. Microsoft's Copilot branding refers to everything that runs in M365 in Azure, right? And that's all cloud-based, subscription-based, largely. That's their Copilot brand. Copilot Plus is everything that runs locally as part of the OS itself. It's part of Windows, no extra charge, and they can, as he said, Ish said, is going to continue. Microsoft's going to continue to add more and more capabilities that run locally on the PC. So for you to harness those capabilities and not lock yourself out of those capabilities in the future, you definitely want a PC, an AI PC with at least 40 tops on the NPU today, right? That is my recommendation for the for the knowledge workers and the the most common use cases. And then the third one, it's kind of self-explanatory now. It's your high performance PCs. Those have your high-end CPUs from the CPU suppliers, right, which are much capable of much more performant single and multi-threaded processes. And then you have those augmented with discrete GPUs and discrete NPUs. Now you're talking about the persona that Ish talked about, is you're starting to create that separation between your power users, your AI and ML and data scientists that can really now do data crunching and work with models right there on the device itself. So that's the three-pronged categorization
I
today
thought
for
I
AI
was the
PCs.
recovering consultant, and here is Shirish with his three buckets, right? Like BCG would be proud. One thing, John, I want to add to that is like, we're not a walking infomercial here. And I know there's like a big corner of the internet, like, let's be real for a second. That's like, hey, like, I watched the NPU advertisement in the Super Bowl. Like, I watched the Copilot Plus PC ad with the zebras and the scientists in the forest, right? But like, really, what does it mean to me? And again, it's about this temporal mismatch. How long are you going to use this device, right? Oh, I'm skeptical of the features that this particular company is building. I'm never going to use any of those. Again, think about the future. Think about the things that are happening at breakneck speed, breakneck pace. That's what you have to be thinking about, that temporal mismatch. So even if it's not up to your taste in this moment, there's something bigger to consider. And again, it's not about an infomercial. These are just the things that I would be thinking about if I were buying one device or if I was buying a million.